C minor. Put it in C minor. Welcome to Interior Analysis. I'm Evan Westman.
I'm cringing.
I'm David.
And today we are talking about the legendary Shrek 2. So if you were a 2000s kid, you probably watched this at least once. I think it is the movie I've seen the most. I'm pretty sure there's nothing.
In all of cinema?
I think so.
Ever. Of all time.
Of all time. I was texting my brother a couple days ago, checking with him. I asked him, how many times do you think we watched Shrek 2 as kids? He said it's probably somewhere between 15 and 20. It sounds about right to me. I don't think there's anything that comes close to that. Like, we watched Ice Age a lot, but not that much. I don't think there's almost anything I've rewatched more than 10 times.
I think Spider-Man 3 is up there for me, and I might have said it on the Patreon exclusive we did.
I think it might be the Goonies for me. Or Scream. Oh, it's probably Scream. I take that back. It's definitely Scream.
Really fitting. You're a horror movie guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming of age. That's really that's everything.
The Goonies was my favorite
both of
for a
those
little
make
while,
sense.
so I'm not mad at that one at all.
I've never seen it. Don't be surprised. You're not surprised. I know
you'd
of
actually like it.
There's like an ugly dude in it, right?
There is, and he wears a Superman shirt.
Okay.
So it
And then
checks
there's,
one of
like-
your boxes.
He's like, and we're watching it next week. All right.
And then like there's a chunky one. Is his name Chunk?
Yeah.
Wait, his name is Chunk.
Yeah, he
I
does the
got
truffle
that.
shuffle.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
You will.
I wish you
Okay.
haven't seen the clip.
Is there a token black character?
No, I don't think black people exist yet.
There is a token Asian character, though,
Yeah.
Oh,
Data.
okay.
who recently
He is now in everything, everywhere, all at once.
beat me to it. That was exactly
I know.
where I
I've
was
been
going.
sitting on it, but that's all you were going for. So I had to get there. He also was in the second Indiana Jones as Short
Short
Round,
Round.
whatever.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Wow, I don't know how we already got here. We're like 30 seconds in.
yeah.
Tangent
Last time
happened.
we waited an hour for our tangent. This time we got it within the first 2 minutes. So balance.
I'm Jelani Kelly.
Yeah, I think this is also one of the first things we owned on DVD, which is probably why it was one of our most watched things. You guys have both seen this before, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. a
Good.
bunch
I don't
of
have to
times.
kick either of you off the podcast.
Many times. This was by far my favorite Shrek movie and still is.
I'm gonna concur with that.
I did like it more than one.
Yeah, and no shade to one at all, because one's great, but I think this just goes beyond it in every way that it should.
This was in critically acclaimed. That section on Netflix.
As the first one is. They're right next to each other.
Who acclaimed it?
Well, the first one won the
You know, I'm
Oscar.
not mad at it.
The first one won the first animated Oscar. The second one, I think, lost out to Incredibles.
Well, that makes sense.
I would put this over Incredibles, but I know people really like
All right.
Incredibles.
When I see you in the next couple of weeks, we scrapping over that.
I'll stand by it. I mean, it's maybe nostalgia, but like, I should check back because I haven't seen Incredibles in a while. I think I might have. I never really liked
Yeah, you
Incredibles
might
as a
wanna
kid.
re-up on
I might
that,
like
fam.
it more as an adult.
You might want to re-up on
You
that.
will like
fam.
it more as an adult because I had that same kind of I always liked it, but like it wasn't everyone like within my 4 friends growing up, like all of them that was their favorite Pixar, and it wasn't even in my top 3 at the time. And now that I've revisited as an adult, it really is like a mature movie. Like Brad Bird is really doing a lot that I don't think kids would really get. Like it's entertaining enough for kids to still be along for the ride, but there's a lot of like satire and style choices. He's trying to comment on like a whole genre of comic book, and I don't think kids, at least that early in their life, would understand that because I didn't. But as an adult, I was like, okay, cool. This is actually doing something.
I probably should revisit it.
I mean, after all, I am your biggest fan.
Trying to think if there's anything else from that that's quotable.
I'm just thinking of all of Syndrome's lines.
I am not heavy, Bob.
Oh, I hate... not that guy. Out of all the people, in that movie.
I can't believe you said I'm trying to think if there's anything that's quotable and no one has said my super suit. Like, are you kidding
Oh,
me?
right.
I can't. I'm really just, I had
Honey!
to jump in. Like,
Wow.
I wanted to give you each 10 seconds, but the fact that no one jumped on it, I just...
You tell me what my suit is, woman. We are talking
I am
about
the greatest good you
good.
will ever get.
Nice to see you. Never heard that one before.
I'm thirsty. Oh my god, wait, that scene is...
Fire.
Yeah, but also...
Because there's literally a fire.
Okay, relevant, I was gonna say. Because of the cop firing, and then he just... Good thing he had superpowers, I guess. Never mind, let's move on. That's kind of depressing.
So I'll start this off. We'll get into our initial reactions. But I had this movie come up in a kind of fun context a few months ago in a way that I think summarizes it quite nicely. So a few months back, I'm walking with like a group of friends, and I'm in like a conversation with this other guy whose name also happens to be Evan, which doesn't matter, but does kind of make the story better.
Does it?
It actually does. You'll see. One of our other friends is saying like, yeah, me and my roommates have been watching a lot of rom-coms recently, and we've been talking about like what happens after the wedding. And then me and the other Evan at the exact same time say Shrek 2. It was an excellent moment, and I think it speaks well to what Shrek 2 is.
I feel like that was a like Scott Pilgrim moment for you and other Evan.
I hadn't thought of
don't know
that,
why.
but I agree.
I don't know why. That's just the vibe I'm getting from that. I
think we leveled
imagine like a camera panning over to both of you after that question was asked, and you both just excitedly say it at the same time.
And then there's some 8-bit graphics and like a sound cue.
Yes.
+1.
Or we get like the Mario when he eats the mushroom sound.
What is the name of that sound?
I don't know.
The growth sound? I don't like
The
that
growth sound.
term for
Yeah.
it. I don't like the term for that. I don't.
We call those moments evanescence. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's not the only time that's happened. Anyway, that was a fun Shrek 2 moment. I'll let you guys go. What did either of you think upon revisiting this?
It's still the better Shrek. Like, Shrek the Third, and I think there's a fourth with Rumpelstiltskin. I don't count those. Those aren't Shrek movies. I'm pretty sure those never happened. It was the gas leak. So, Shrek 1 and 2 are the only ones that matter, and Shrek the Musical. And for me, my favorites in order go Shrek 2, Shrek the Musical, Shrek 1. That's because I love them all a lot. It's not saying Shrek 1 is bad. And Shrek 2, I agree. I think it does everything a sequel's supposed to do. It elevates it in every possible way, while also, and this is a Scream 2 narrative thing, because you know how they like to talk about what's happening in like the structure. They talk about how in sequels you have to kind of go back and revisit and show how the first one, like, it was true and it was right, but something was off from the start that the audience didn't fully know. And Shrek 2 does that with the whole Fairy Godmother, Prince Charming deal with the father. And I was like, okay, wow, this is real. And it works super well. And everything's better. The animation, the jokes, Donkey's better. The only thing you're missing really is the dragon. And I mean, I like Farquaad, but I'll take the Fairy Godmother over it just for the sequences of like the potion robbery heist thing and like them breaking into the wedding and her singing I Need a Hero, all of that. Love it.
Iconic.
Fantastic.
All of that.
Yeah.
No shade to
For
Farquaad,
real.
but yeah, like Fairy Godmother is a legend tier villain.
I think the inclusion of Puss in Boots is amazing. I think it's super smart, and I didn't really appreciate the way they brought him in as a kid because I haven't seen this movie in a while, but now that I have watched it as an adult, I'm like, wow, this is actually really cool how they're doing it. And I didn't realize this as a kid, but they do the Spider-Man Raimi kiss, and that's fun.
Mm-hmm. I never really read it as referencing that, though. It doesn't feel like it's calling it out. Like, aside from the fact that it's like an upside down kiss, aside from that, it doesn't feel like it's referencing that
And yeah,
moment
she has to
super
like
hard.
clear his mouth, just like how MJ has to pull the mask down off the mouth.
I guess. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the kiss.
This movie just lost points in Evan's head.
No, that doesn't lose points. All right, Jelani, what did you think on revisiting it?
I'm still stuck on Evanescence.
I'm gonna lie, me too. But I also love it. I think it's the best thing he's ever said.
Songs are cool. I finally understand that we're from the Union scene.
Yes.
I never
that
understood
confused the hell
as a
out of me
kid.
as a kid.
Yeah, I never understood why he just let them in, and he was like, "We don't even have dental," and then he was like, "They don't even have dental," and I was like, "I don't know what this means," but he's gonna let them in because I've seen this movie enough, and now I get it, and now that scene I appreciate that scene so much more because it makes so much sense that the fairy godmother wouldn't even give her subordinates like common health insurance. Puss in Boots is still my favorite, and I'm gonna say his full name the entire episode. He said I hate Mondays in the bar, like Garfield, and I found that funny. I never even thought about this. That one of you, I think Evan mentioned, it's an interracial relationship. This whole time I've seen Shrek and the Shrek movies. I never saw the fourth one. Was there a fifth?
I hope so.
No.
But not yet.
Okay. Never saw it as that. And now that just opened my whole... Because she's a human originally, and he's always been Mike Myers.
He's always been Mike Myers. So that's why it's interracial.
No matter who Mike Myers is in a relationship with, it's always an interracial relationship. He is his own race.
Oh, God.
No, I'm playing. But now I need to rewatch again, which I'm sure I won't mind rewatching to see it as an interracial relationship, because then that'll make everything the king is saying at the beginning and everything hit so much harder. And I'm like, oh damn, this is a metaphor. Yeah, everything makes so much sense now, even though it already did. This movie has layers like ogres and onions.
And cakes.
I just wanted to also point out,
Parfait.
fun fact is, this cost the same amount of money as Chicken Little.
Oh, damn. That's
You're
true.
joking.
No, I think I checked both of them. I think they're both 150 million, right?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Well,
I don't even know what to do with that information. I'm gonna just let that sit there for a second. You give it a moment of silence. All right, thank you.
wow.
That's crazy, and I appreciated this movie so much more after watching Chicken Little. I don't know if it'll be out on Patreon by the time we're putting this up, but I was just appreciating the lighting for one. I was just like, man, this doesn't suck.
Oh yeah, the animation literally blew me away, because I rewatched the first Shrek over the summer and I had not seen it in a while, and I just realized of the time and the budget and everything, but I was like, oh okay, wow, it's not bad or ugly, but it definitely is working within the confines of what it's been given, because it's not a super successful franchise. But once Shrek 2 came around and they saw the success of Shrek 1, and they put that budget behind it, it blew me away, some of the sequences. Even down to Prince Charming having a hairnet, and you could see the details of the lining of the hairnet into the textures of his hair, and then when he ripped it off and how that changed with the lighting. And this is 2004.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This does not look like a 2004 animated movie. This.
Damn, it's that old?
Yeah, and it looks. I mean, Shrek 1 looks much more than 3 years older than this. They did. And again, no shade to Shrek 1. For 2001, that's good animation. But this is good animation by, 2012 standard. Mm-hmm. I don't think it holds up great against something like Soul that's, really recent.
Or 2012.
That
movie was crazy.
Are you talking the movie 2012?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
a lot of that was animated.
A lot of that was animated and does look fairly clean. But there's not much else I can say in praise of that movie.
I never got to finish it.
You don't need to. If you've seen Independence Day, you know how it ends.
Will Smith shows up?
I wish, but no.
Does
keep my wife's name your alien mouth?
Welcome to Earth.
I was gonna say, does he smack the earthquakes or something?
He would have shown them. They wouldn't have even had to have a movie if he was there. The Mayan apocalypse stands no chance.
That's all I had for the Evanescence. Really.
That's what we call it.
If you ever get any sort of like fame or fortune, you need to make that a like perfume or cologne.
I was gonna say that
Evanescence.
sounds definitely like a scent of some sort.
Yeah.
It's just a mix of both of our sweat.
Well, don't tell anybody that.
I mean, in that way, you could. It's still like what it's marketed as. You just split it into Evan Essence instead of Evanescence. You know, two different.
Yeah, three.
Things
There's
that
three
sound the
products right there.
Yeah. So when are you gonna just put like Evans on the shelf? What does that look like?
I'll let you know when we get
Sure.
there. I'll have to talk it over with him. We have
All
some
that curly
trademarking
hair.
to do.
Maybe it should be a wig.
Could be a wig. I did just get a haircut, so if I could go back to the barber, get all my hair that I got cut off, maybe I could make a wig out of that.
Do you think the barbers keep your hair, Evan?
It was only 2 days ago. It might still be in their trash. Like, I might be able to get it.
Okay.
In any case, Shrek 2. We've already had like 5 tangents in the first. We're not even done with initial reactions. Okay. Did you have more for initial reactions, either of you?
No.
Okay. Like both of you guys, I was really happy how well this held up on revisiting. Like, I think I had this as a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. And after watching this, I was like, what was I thinking? This is a 9. This is easily a 9 out of 10. I have this movie practically memorized from seeing it so much as a kid, and I still found new stuff to appreciate, lines that I missed. I still laughed at it, which I was surprised at because I know all of these jokes very well. The soundtrack still slaps. I listened to it a ton as a kid. I still listen to it now. Like, I have many tracks from both Shrek 1 and 2 on my like main rotation.
I hope Smash Mouth is up there.
I think one of the Smash Mouths is, but that's definitely like, that might be the worst of the good Shrek. Actually, it might be one of the worst songs on either soundtrack.
What did you just say?
It might be. There's a couple that are like less than stellar, and I'm not saying
Are you
that is like,
disrespecting All Star?
it's fine. But like compared to the other stuff on this soundtrack, like Pete Yorn's cover of Ever Fallen in Love, that slaps so hard.
I'm gonna need the Shrek fandom to rise up and attack Evan.
I'm not saying All Star is bad. I'm just saying that it's not even close to the best of that this soundtrack has to offer. You have two.
Shrekies, we call on you to leave your swamp and attack.
Well, I'll be defended by Jennifer Saunders and I Need a Hero, and the other version that's in the credits by the original What You Say singer.
I didn't watch the credits.
Well, then you missed out on the post-credit scene where Dragon comes back with the donkey dragon hybrid babies. That's real.
No, that was in Shrek 3.
No, there's a post-credit scene about a minute into the credits where the dragon comes in. It flies in to the courtyard, and it has like 5 dragon donkey babies.
Oh, I might have seen this. I was like, there's no way I missed out on this as many times as I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
I might have seen this vaguely. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, that was there. What is missing from the Netflix version, at least I think, because I didn't go all the way to the end of the credits. Did either of you have this on DVD?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know where I'm going with this?
Far, far away out.
Yes!
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Simon Cowell. I was so mad, like, they didn't show what happened if you, like, picked one of the non-3 winners other than Simon Cowell singing that stupid song. Like, I think, canonically, I don't want to say that, only 3 choices, like, they actually show, like, them winning, and then the rest, like, even if they were bad, like, Simon Cowell would just be like, nope, it's me, everybody, and then just start singing. I'm like, okay, man.
Yeah, I think there's some where Shrek and Fiona go on if you pick somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I watched this enough. That's part of how I knew I watched this so many times. Because I remembered, like, we selected, probably not all, but many of the Far, Far Away Idol characters. Like, we saw many different endings.
Yeah, we watched that a bunch of times, and then Simon Cowell would just sing My Way when I picked somebody that I wanted to win.
They don't make them like that anymore. At least I don't
They
think.
don't make this anymore like that.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. That was special. That was.
Are you tearing up?
No. No.
Starts crying. That'd be amazing.
Just lost in the memory of Far, Far Away Idol.
Oh my god.
They only had 3 endings because it was 2004 and no budget.
They got something cold though, and like that was when American Idol was like, I don't want to say at its peak. I don't know if it ever was at a peak other than like past some of the round one.
I think that was
Some of the
around
round
its
ones.
peak, though.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I was 5 when this came out, so I don't really know.
Damn.
But I did see it in theaters, though. I didn't see the first one in theaters, I don't think, but I did see this in theaters.
We didn't really go to the theaters like that. So I wouldn't know that a movie came out unless I saw it on DVD in like a store.
It was close to its peak. Its peak was in 2003 at the season 2 finale when it drew 38 million viewers.
Okay, so this was probably being made around its peak then.
Oh yeah, that's why it was definitely in the discussion.
Young Gen Zers listening to this are going to be so confused. They're going
Good.
to be like, DVD? American
Simon
Idol?
Cowell,
Simon
American Idol
Cowell.
is Katy Perry.
If any Gen Zer laughs like that, I need to know who. Because
I think the letters L, O, and L just emit from their mouths. That's how Gen Zers laugh. Although, are we
Whoever-
Gen Z?
I think technically,
We might be
or we're
split.
like
It's
Gen.
always confusing the people on the cusp at the end of the 90s. Like I see different like charts.
Gen
or,
Y,
like, even just
millennials, we're all
numbers.
on it.
I'm like, so what is real?
And
Yeah, I think by
we're all
some
on it.
metrics, like David and I are Gen Z and Jelani is a millennial, but I
You
don't.
just call me old?
No, I'm saying by some metrics, like depending on where the cutoff is.
He said, "You're not old. You're just older."
I don't like having old associated in the same sentence with me.
Well, we're starting to feel nostalgia for stuff, so I think we are starting to be old.
How old are you guys? 20, 23,
23.
22, 2.
Yep.
You just said yep. I put out 2 numbers. You said yep, David.
Oh, I thought you said. I just heard 23, and then I heard you say 2. I don't know. I thought you were just talking to yourself.
I do that sometimes, but I have 2 people to
But yeah,
talk to.
23.
Okay, you're both okay.
But speaking of generations, I think it's safe to say that Shrek and Shrek 2 are kind of like our generation's movie. Like it's a movie that our generation, I feel like, is kind of claimed as ours. Do you guys think that's fair to say?
That and Raimi Spider-Man. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I don't claim that.
No, I agree. I think that's why it's also in it because it
Yeah.
was like what 3 years or 2 years after Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
Spider-Man made bank.
Yeah, I wish I could disagree with you, but you're right. Spider-Man is unfortunately another of our generation's movies.
I also
but-
think Pirates of the Caribbean is claimed by our generation,
Yeah, I claim that.
and Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, definitely.
Yeah, but I feel like our generation specifically has a little less of a stake on Harry Potter. Like that kind of
No.
resonates across enough ages that I'm not saying it's not like tied to it, but like there are like adults who got into Harry Potter as it was coming out. So whereas
I
like
think it was.
Well, I'm sure there were some adults who got into Shrek.
Yes.
I'm just like we claim like that. Like if you ask someone from, it's like SpongeBob. Like adults like SpongeBob, but our generation has claimed SpongeBob as like that is ours.
yeah.
Like, you '90s kids, you can have all your like
All
brain
that's.
and all that's and Keaton and Kells, but like SpongeBob is ours.
Key and Peele, also ours. That was later,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
definitely
Well,
ours.
that's when we had like we were older than too, so it matched up.
Yeah.
It was more mature.
But I think of those, Shrek is the best. It's the one I am most proud to claim as like being of our generation.
Evan, you're good, man. You're not defending like a shit movie. You don't have to like.
No, but I feel like there's people like some amount of time older than us who don't quite get why Shrek is such a big deal. I kind of want to stand up for like some of the taste of our generation. Like, this is a place where we have good taste. We don't claim 3 and 4, but 1 and 2 are they're solid. They're worth the hype. I did notice this time how good the character drama is, because I didn't pick up on that really as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it runs through the whole thing, but for the first act, I feel like you can remove the word ogre, and most scenes of this play out like a family drama about an interracial relationship. That kind of drops off after Get Out of the Castle and like Puss in Boots comes in. That kind of isn't really there anymore. But the first act, I was like, damn, like some of these scenes just like hit pretty hard. The dinner table scene, the argument between Shrek and Fiona after, I was like, this stands up in just like a family drama. As long as you just like take out some of the kids stuff that's like in the frame, put that dialogue in another movie, it pretty much works. Yeah, that's the end of my initial reactions. So let's start with, why does this work so well? Because sequels, we've seen good ones, but more often we see really bad ones. And, I'm not saying this is the best number 2 of a series, but it's maybe like the best sequel in the sense of following up the original. I'll start it off open-ended to both of you. Why do we think that is? David, you kind of had some answers to it earlier, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it does what a sequel needs to do. It needs to raise the stakes. It needs to bring back what was familiar, but make it different, make it exciting, and depending on the genre, and this is a kid's movie, make it fun and entertaining, and have the jokes for the adults while also having the jokes for the kiddies, and make it good. And I think this movie does that, and I think it uses its budget wisely. It winning the Oscar and making a boatload of money allowed it to get a boatload of money for this movie, and I don't think they wasted. I think the sequences are flawless, and I think they just execute everything at the highest standard they kind of could at the time. And I think they did the same thing with the first one. It's just times had changed, technology had changed, and the team was good enough to change with it, and they evolved. And I think, like you said, that first act, like, it's funny because we talk about how this is really referencing a lot of movies, and like you could really see American Beauty in that. Like, I just was like so tense, like just the whole fight, even with the food flying, I was like, oh, is an asparagus gonna hit into the wall soon? And I think they're so smart with how they layered something so dramatic and so tense like that, and so nuanced that like people aren't even comfortable talking about it now, and it's 2022 and this is 2004 and it's a kids movie, and it's gonna make a lot of money, because it does make a lot of money, so it is successful in that regard. And it's still comedic, the way they layer Donkey when he says like donkey, the way it all goes.
My favorite.
Yeah, the orchestra of how the choreography of moving the plates. I think it's all meticulous animation. I also think they killed it with casting like they did in the first one. I think Antonio Banderas is amazing cast. I think Julie Andrews is amazing. I forget the name of the person who plays the dad, but
John
I think he was a great choice.
John Cleese.
Yeah. John Cleese from Monty Python. He was a great choice. I think it was all just like tick, 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 amazing. And even though it starts to get a little bit more crazy in the second and third act when they do like the whole potion heist, once Puss in Boots becomes more of like an okay person with Shrek, it still is like insane to me that like the only reason Puss in Boots is even there is because he was a hitman for hire, and like this person, like you said, if you really just think about what's happening, like this person's father-in-law, potential father-in-law, who they're supposed to be good on, has hired a hitman to kill his daughter's fiance. Like that is
husband. They're married.
Are they already?
They get married at the end of the first movie.
They're married. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so husband. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy that that's like the central conflict in at least the first act of a kids movie, and yet you don't feel the heaviness of it at all.
Well, because it was the cat that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about how movies are written, Jelani. Come on. It's the cat. Let's go. Elaborate.
And Antonio Banderas was the cat.
Uh-huh.
I think his name was Garfield.
Oh, no.
and he wore, I think, sunglasses.
A monocle.
Either that or the full thing, but 2 monocles. Michael Myers from the Halloween movie was cast as the main character.
They never make that joke in any Shrek movie, do they?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. The sequel, it works. Why does it work? Ditto to everything y'all said. I like particularly the world building of Far Far Away, the kingdom, because isn't it mentioned in the first one? But you think they're just like messing around, that it's like from a far, far away land, but the kingdom is actually called Far, Far Away.
Yeah, that's like it's like a sass because the first one is all a satire and fairy tale, so it works in that regard. Where you're like, oh, she's from far, far away.
Yeah.
LOL. But then they made Far, Far Away Los Angeles.
Mhm.
I was gonna say I like that it's Hollywood, and everybody plays their role really well in this. Antonio Banderas. I just like that they did more with it. I think that's why it worked for me because it went bigger than the self-contained first one.
But it doesn't just go bigger, I think, because like we've seen plenty of sequels that, I mean, nothing has scaled up bigger than the Fast and Furious franchise. But I don't know if I can call those good sequels. So bigger does not always equal better. I think it is good that this went bigger. Like, I think that was a good decision. But it can't just go bigger.
Marvel.
Marvel has done well scaling up, I think.
I'm saying, like, didn't they? You said nothing went bigger than the Fast and Furious. Marvel went Universal, Evan.
I'm
Not
saying
that
compared to
studio.
the start. Because Marvel does scale up, but it also starts fairly big.
It starts with a dude in a suit.
Yeah,
A
but that's bigger
military
than
suit.
street racing in regular cars. Now I think they've gone to space, had tanks and planes and submarines.
That's fair.
I agree with a lot of what you guys have said. A major thing that I think makes it work is everything evolves naturally and it stays consistent. Nothing in this like retroactively invalidates anything that happens in the first movie. Like we're not bringing back any villains. Like there's not a threat of like Shrek and Fiona like divorcing or anything.
Oh, I'm so glad they didn't go that route. I didn't even think about that. I cannot stand that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's that many movies that take that exact route, but I know there's a number of franchises where it's like the first movie happens, we win, but then no we didn't in the second one. And it's like, all right, well, what was the point of the first movie then? And this doesn't do that. Like it lets everything from the first movie stand and it's like, all right, what happens next? And everything in this feels natural. It's like, yes, now Fiona's parents want to meet her new husband. Surprise, it's Shrek. And like everything that comes from that feels very natural. The world is still consistent. We're not in the same place, but we kind of have like the same world values there where like ogres are no more accepted in Far Far Away than they were in Duloc in the first one.
They had pitchforks in the courtyard.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the only difference is like people are actively trying to kill Shrek from the word go in the first movie. They at least hold off for a little while in Far Far Away. But
Before hiring somebody else to kill him.
right. So there's like the slightest bit of restraint. But basically like the values are the same there. Like basically ogres are not accepted here. We are bigoted. That's pretty much like consistent. So it's not like he's going to like a world where ogres are fine and like all forms of fairy tale creatures are like living in harmony, like Shrek's Zootopia. So, but I think that's good. But I also like that it is a new setting because I don't think there was anything more for us to do in Duloc after the end of the first movie. There are only like two things that I think are only slightly worse in this movie compared to the first, or that I wish it did better, but they're not very big gripes. I think Fiona gets a little sidelined.
I was gonna bring that up when you were done.
Mm-hmm. Going into rewatching this, I was like, oh, they really sidelined Fiona. They don't do it as much as I remembered. Like, she doesn't get to do anything fun, which is kind of disappointing. Because she was at least along for the ride on the quest, at least like for the second half in the first movie. So she like got to do stuff there. She got to kick ass at one point. We didn't get any of that, at least not in the bulk of the story. We get a half a second in like the opening montage, but that's it. But despite that, we do still get some good backstory with her. And like she has consistent goals and motivations throughout this. There's just not a lot for her to do actively, which is disappointing. I don't think they disservice her character. I think it would help though if somebody like the one casting choice I dislike in both of these movies is Cameron Diaz as Fiona. I feel like she deserved a better voice actor because everyone else in this is just like bringing so much flair to it, and like no shade to Cameron Diaz, but she just has kind of a generic voice. I feel like they could have found someone better.
Like whom, Steven?
I don't have a specific person they could recast, but I think they could have done better in that regard. Maybe she had like a lot of clout in the early 2000s, and that was like gonna get butts in seats. Yeah, I don't think I've seen her in anything live action, but I know she's in a lot of stuff.
Charlie's Angels, that was somewhere around, I think, wasn't that late 2000? I don't know.
No, that was early.
Yeah.
Okay.
Late 90s, early 2000s with the sequel. Then she was in The Mask, and then she was in another Gangs of New York.
Oh, yeah, oh, okay, so I have seen her in something else. Yeah, that's a small gripe, but even so, like, I think, I do like how they build out her backstory. I think that is done very well here. Also, like, Shrek doesn't have quite as strong of an arc in the sequel, but I don't really have a problem with that, and we'll get into why. It would be nice if he had an equally good arc, but, you know, I did a whole video on his arc in the first one. It's a high bar to clear, and I think they do a good job. Like, everything with him is still consistent. It's just not quite as complete of an arc as the first one.
What is his accent?
Scottish, I guess.
Yeah, like a swampy Scottish.
Donkey!
Whatever that means.
Okay.
So let's get into the villains, because we have, I said A-tier villain for Fairy Godmother. I think she might actually be an S-tier villain. I can't think of too many that compare to her. She actually, I was noticing this time, has a lot of similarities to the Joker in The Dark Knight in how she, like...
Yeah, please explain that.
She has a lot of plans. Hers are more long-term than his. Because she's been planning this for a solid, like, 25 years, it seems like. But when everything goes wrong for her, she still rolls with it, improvs expertly with the happily ever after potion. How many other villains can pivot like that?
Shrek, I don't understand why Shrek didn't just mollywop her right there in the room. Like, she closed the doors on him, but Shrek's still Shrek, dog. So why ain't he just like
Rip that fairy's head off, you ogre?
Because she's manipulative, like the Joker. I'm not going to spoil that scene in The Dark Knight, but
hit me.
She wrong one.
That's the only one I remember. And then
when he's in drag,
he was driving. Oh,
yes,
the nurse.
David. Yes, that scene. They're pretty similar scenes now that I'm thinking of it. Shrek probably, well, she is physically powerful. Like, she has magic on her side. So
she has the wand and can fly. I don't know what you mean by physically, magically. Yeah.
Well, in a like beyond mental capacity. I don't know what we'd call that. Magical, I guess. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But she's powerful in that sense. And in that scene you're talking about, she plays into Shrek's insecurities expertly. Like, that is some great villain stuff right there.
Yeah, but, like, why wouldn't she assume he's just not gonna turn into the brute she thinks he is and just murder her right there and then there?
Because I think she doesn't entirely believe what she preaches. I think she knows he does have a heart, and she's playing on it. Because she's very bigoted, but she's not stupid.
Don't you point those dirty green sausages at me.
Yeah, well, that scene as well, I think, has some good manipulation, where she's basically spitting history at him with the fairy tales.
No ogres.
And so the girl's like, no ogres. Also, I like that Pretty Woman is one of the fairy tales that she mentions. I've never seen it, but I know enough about it to get the joke.
Oh, she was referring to the movie? Like,
yeah.
I thought it could have been a fairy tale. I don't understand the joke.
No, the Julia Roberts movie.
Okay, I don't... That doesn't help me.
Well, it's out there. It exists.
It's a modern day fairy tale, essentially.
Thank you, David.
Anyway, I think she's a pretty top tier villain. Anything to add there?
Not really. You've covered all the bases for me. Like, as much as Farquaad's funny and you can meme on him, I would legitimately be a little scared of Fairy Godmother.
Mhm.
Like the same way Ursula and Scar operate, where they know their enemies' insecurities and they play to them and they get you to run away or give up your voice or change how you look. Like that is some next level manipulation that Farquaad couldn't do.
Definitely.
He was too incompetent and short for that. I'm pretty sure she's probably smaller than him. Actually, no, she might be. He might be about the same size. But that makes way more sense to me now, comparing them to Ursula and Scar. That makes... Thanks again, David.
I think one of the reasons the next two movies don't measure up to this one is that they don't have as good of a villain. Prince Charming is a natural choice for the next villain in the third one.
Don't spoil 4. I didn't see 4 yet.
I don't even remember 4 well enough to spoil it for you, but Rumpelstiltskin he's not it. Like,
didn't I just say to not spoil 4? And what did you do with him? I didn't know who the villain was in 4. I didn't know anything about 4 other than they were other ogres.
Okay, well, I won't say any more about it.
It's too late. You might as well tell me, go ahead.
You're not missing much.
Break the script out and go ahead and start reading.
Interior.
I'm not going to do that.
Honestly, I think I remember that, so I don't think you really spoiled anything.
I figured.
So, like, the beginning of it.
Here's one last question for villains, though. Do we think this counts as a 3-villain movie?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. I would think you'd really have to be stretching it to get 3.
Yeah.
I barely count the 2. Prince Charming's just kind of
I wouldn't give 2 either, because I don't think Prince Charming is a villain, because he's really incompetent, and then I wouldn't give the dad to be a villain, because he has an arc, so, like, to me, it really is. And Puss in Boots is not a villain. Like, if anyone said he was a villain, you're crazy. So, like, to me, it really is just Fairy Godmother.
I think the king mostly counts as a villain.
But he has his arc, don't you think?
Not that it's a good movie, but to refer to the classic 3-villain movie, Harry Osborn also has an arc in Spider-Man 3 and is not a villain in the climax. But we count him as a villain in that. If we're functioning under the same logic, I think the king counts as a villain here. Prince Charming, I'm with you there. You're selling me on that. He doesn't count. But I think the king counts as a villain.
But he's not like... I was going to say...
The only reason I don't count him as much as I could see your Harry statement is because Harry isn't operating under anybody as much as I think he's operating under Fairy Godmother. Maybe that's why
that's
I see her,
true.
because she's like the overall big bad and he's just like a subordinate. So like maybe like 1.5.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's not a villain at all, because he does have some autonomous villainy. His bigotry at the beginning is not that's just him. That's not the Fairy Godmother manipulating him. After that, yes, I agree with you. He's not like acting on his own.
Put it that way.
But even after that, I still think, like you said, even though he's not acting on his own, he's doing a lot of malicious stuff, like hiring the hitman. Even the imagery, like with him in the moonlight with the axe, and she says, use your imagination, like, or at least giving the audience the sense that he is going to do something bad. Mm-hmm. He's not to be trusted or liked.
Yeah.
All racists are villains, is what we're learning here today.
Yes. Hopefully you didn't hear it here first. But if you did.
If you did, first of all, you're welcome. Second, you need to open your eyes a little bit more.
Get some help.
If you're doing drugs, stop it. Get some help.
Get some help. So, to bring us into our next topic, I think the king might be the key to this movie's success. I've been talking a lot, so you guys, do you have anything you want to start off with for the king?
The princess and the frog, they don't directly reference that. And he was originally the princess and the frog was like a dude that turned into a frog and then became a dude again, right? Kind of like Beauty and the Beast.
That sounds right.
So for this, he was originally a frog and then became a man and then went back to being a frog. Coincidence? I think it was supposed to be like a spin on that. They don't ever mention self-conscious as this is, and like satirical, like they don't ever mention the princess and the frog directly, which is strange. I don't think they do in 3 either.
Yeah, I don't think they do. But like you're saying, it's not exactly like that story. Although, like, we don't get a full sense of how that worked. After seeing it 20 times, I think I've been able to piece it together. That, like, stop me if this is obvious, but, like, I think it starts off with, like, Harold's a frog, and then the fairy godmother agrees to turn him human because he's in love with Lillian, the queen. And then, in exchange, he has to have Fiona marry Charming when they get older.
That's so she can like have like political power, right? Because if not, that's just weird and creepy.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it, because
I mean, it's weird anyway, but yeah.
I know, Jelani, you won't necessarily get this reference, but I know Prince Charming looks like Jaime Lannister, but I think the relationship between them is more like Cersei and Joffrey, where the prince is the pawn and the mother is the real power behind the throne. At least that's the plan.
Game of Thrones.
Yep.
We all watched it.
I don't know if you would see this as a non-Game of Thrones fan, but there are so many side-by-side memes of Jaime Lannister and Prince Charming.
I know who Jaime Lannister is.
The minute you watch it, you're gonna die because he's just him.
I think I literally thought Prince Charming, the first episode of Game of Thrones I watched, I was like, that guy's just Prince Charming.
Like, that's literally him. It's not anybody else.
Oh yeah, he is. That's crazy. I mean, with the haircut, not with the short haircut. I don't know when he got the short one.
Yeah, like, very beginning of Game of Thrones, Jaime Lannister looks exactly like Prince Charming.
Oh, that's strange.
So back to the king. What else with him? I have more notes, but I want to hear you guys.
I mean, I really haven't thought about the king like that, so.
All right, I'll try to run through it quick then. I think the biggest success with him is that he has the biggest arc in this. Like, if the theme of the movie is changing for the people you love, he embodies that the most with unlearning his bigotry for Fiona's sake.
You think it's purposeful? The frog has the biggest arc? Because the hopping, the arc from the...
I see what you're doing there, but...
Ribbit.
Yeah, I don't know how strongly I can get behind it.
He croaked.
He does croak. It does seem like his arc kind of results in like a societal acceptance of ogres at the end. Like, as I recall, I haven't seen 3 and 4 in a while, but I don't think people are as bigoted against ogres in those movies. I think it kind of runs its course at the end of this. But it is a difference from Shrek 1, where the world does not change at the end. Everything that changes in that movie is all internal for Shrek and Fiona. Farquaad gets eaten, and then like all the fairy tale creatures move away. There's not really an acceptance societally there. So that is kind of another nice upscaling from 1. Although I feel like there isn't like a huge textual indication that like the rest of Far, Far Away has like gotten on board with ogres are fully realized people too. That was the end of it. I think he's great. John Cleese is a legend. Next topic is continuing a character arc. So I don't think Shrek's arc, like I said, is as good in this as it is in the first, but it's still, I think it's a natural progression of where he is at the end of the first and the situations he's presented with here. So I'm not mad at it. I think it's just not quite as strong. Do we think his relationship with the king is an arc, or is that just an external conflict? Because it doesn't last very long.
I mean, it's resolved by the end, though.
It's resolved by the end, but I think, like, does it require, like, a full arc of change from him is more of my question.
No.
David?
I don't think so. I think it's an external conflict.
Yeah, because he's acting out of... Well, he was kind of just being a bigot when he first meets him, and then out of fear, he kind of just apologizes and then gets over it, but, like, moves past his bigotry.
I get what you're saying though, because like in Philadelphia, has anyone seen Philadelphia?
No.
Well, Philadelphia is pretty much Tom Hanks. He has AIDS and he's dying, and he needs to get representation from a lawyer. And Tom Hanks himself was a lawyer, so he goes to his competitor, who is played by Denzel Washington. And Denzel Washington has, because it's in the 90s, has this whole kind of bigotry towards gay people, and then especially gay people with AIDS. And like the whole resolution for both of their arcs is like they come together in the end when Tom is dying, and like Denzel helps put the oxygen mask on Tom Hanks' face, and that shows like the character's growth. But that's because like that's literally the whole movie. And I feel like the conflict with the dad and Shrek really falls off in the second act, and it comes back in the third act, but that's just because like they're both at that ceremony, whereas it's not like the actual story itself. I feel like both of their arcs kind of aren't reliant on that, and they just use, or the screenwriters use, their conflict with each other as just that, as a conflict that kind of visually shows maybe their arc is complete, but I don't think that in itself is their arc.
Well, I think the King's arc spans the entire movie. Like,
Oh, same, and I think Shrek does too, but I don't think they're like connected the same way, and so that their conflict is what is like the resolution for their arcs.
yeah, I think that's fair. But I would also say that I think Shrek's arc, in that sense, I think he kind of has two that sort of like one. He goes one and then the other. It's like the first act, if we can even call it an arc, like he comes around on like giving the king and like Fiona's parents a chance, because like as soon as they have that argument, Shrek and Fiona, after dinner, the next opportunity he gets when the king knocks on his door, he's like, yes, let's try and start over. We got off on the wrong foot. It doesn't take a lot. I mean, it's like a big argument, but it doesn't take a long time to convince him. So I feel like that's an arc, but not one that I would. It's like a mini arc, I guess. It's almost more just like he's been convinced. It's not like a major change. And then his second one starts up when, well, I don't know exactly when it starts, but it's like basically him doubting like whether his marriage to Fiona can last. Like, introduce Prince Charming. What if she can have somebody else, like the guy she's always dreamed of marrying? Do I stand a chance? Which I think is personally, I think is a weaker arc. I'd be willing to hear counter arguments, but I think it works, but it's not quite as compelling as his first one.
I see that because I never thought of it that way. I always thought, because I definitely saw the first one. I don't really count as an arc because it is such a conflict that's resolved. It's like, if anything, it's just like a hurdle. Like, it's literally just like a pinch, and then he's just like through it. But the second one, I never saw it that way. I always saw it as, because the line of dialogue that Fiona has where he's like, Shrek says something where it's like, I'm an ogre and that's not changing. And she's like, well, that's a shame because I've made changes for you. And I always thought that was like the thing he was like wrestling with this movie, was like, how far is he willing to change himself for his marriage? But I can see the whole Prince Charming thing. I never read it that way, but I could definitely see that.
I think it's both, and I don't know if they gel perfectly. I think that's where it's a weaker arc. Like, I do like that this movie goes more complex than the first one, because I think Shrek 1 thrives off of its simplicity. It does its simple thing perfectly. And to its credit, I think this does, it takes more complexity and does it pretty well. That is an area where Shrek doesn't have the cleanest arc, and I think it is a little bit tough to tell. Like, yeah, textually, I feel like in dialogue, there is a decent amount said about like how much is Shrek willing to change for Fiona. So, and I think that is the more compelling arc for him to have. But in terms of his actions, it feels more like he's insecure because Jaime Lannister showed up and he's really hot.
Yeah, and he has the whole when he sees the interaction and she thinks he's Shrek, and he's just kind of like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I totally see that.
It's trying to do both at once, and I'm not saying it's failing at it, because like it pretty much works. I really don't have a problem with it. It's just not the cleanest arc. Only other point I had with that, going back to the first of his 2 arcs, this time around I really appreciated like his side of the argument with Fiona, because most of the time watching that, like, I hadn't really listened to that closely, and I always kind of assumed it was just like Shrek's just being a jerk that whole time. But I think he does make really good points, both before and after going to Far, Far Away. I was kind of appreciating it for the first time. Like, yes, I understand that Fiona, like, wants him to meet her parents, and maybe part of him is just, like, having normal meet the parents fears. But he also has a lot more experience than her with ogre racism, and I think it's totally fair of him to not expect that he's going to be accepted by her parents, which he's not. Even after they meet, I think they kind of overplay him being a jerk when they have that argument, when he's like, she says, like, have you ever asked me what I want? Sure. Do you want me to pack for you? Like, that's kind of an extra callous line for them to give him, but I think his overall, like, perspective there is still valid. Like, this isn't gonna work. It's pretty understandable of him not to expect the king to change his opinion. I was appreciating that more this time. And actually, another line that I missed is right before Fiona falls asleep from the potion, she says to her parents, Shrek was right, we should leave. I kind of forgot that she actually did come around to his point of view there. That was just some extra nuance that I never picked up on. Just another few random notes. These aren't really topics, but I wanted to bring them up. We've already shouted out the soundtrack. If Jennifer Saunders' cover of I Need a Hero doesn't get you amped, you probably weren't a 2000s kid, because I feel like that's kind of a staple.
I think I was watching it and realized I was, like, invested, even though I've seen the movie so many times. I was like, oh my god, what's about to happen? This is insane.
It's so epic.
Yeah, it's so well placed.
Have you guys seen, there's an edit of the final battle from Endgame where they set it to I Need a Hero from this.
There's a lot.
Yes.
It's so good.
I didn't see it, but I know there's a lot of edits. They also did the same thing with Thor's entrance in Infinity War. They used the what's the name of that song? The Siren song, where they do the
The Immigrant song, maybe?
The Immigrant, yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Here's a question, and I didn't put the answer on my notes because I didn't want you guys to look ahead. The Fairy Godmother is actually blaming the wrong person the entire time. Who should she actually be blaming for all of this?
The Queen.
Herself.
Farquaad.
I'd hear arguments for either, but no. Closer with
writers.
Farquaad, but not quite.
The gingerbread man?
No.
Oh.
The mirror on the wall?
Yes. Why?
I don't know.
'Cause he's the one that did the Bachelor thing for Farquaad.
Did he tell her the prophecy of Prince Charming?
No, because the entire event of all of the first movie doesn't happen if he doesn't tell Farquaad.
That's what I was saying. He
Yes.
does the Bachelor thing.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, what you were saying. Exactly that. I just feel like that is not...
True.
I did it.
True.
I did it.
We need the grudge
Wow.
match. It never happens.
If he just left Fiona alone, then none of this would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Shrek would have stayed Shrek in the swamp.
Well, Shrek would have left the swamp. He just would have went after some other girl.
Shrek.
Potentially.
Yeah, because Farquaad's invading his land anyway, or Farquaad's expanding with his imperialism, which sends the weird fantasy people to his land, which sends him to Doofenshmirtz or wherever he lives.
Evil
And then
Incorporated.
he does like the wrestle match, and then he's like, all right, go save this princess. But if it was a different princess, because the mirror never told him, he could have been saving Sleeping Beauty, and then Fiona would have had Prince Charming and would have been a human, and the frog would have been a human, and she would have had political power.
Yes. And then we don't know what happens after that, but probably it's bad.
And then it's Game of Thrones.
And then
She
it's
really,
Yep.
she really burst. Like, she burst at the end of this movie
Yeah, she blew up.
into bubbles. And that's a horrifically violent way to go. Like, there's no blood, but like, imagine your whole body like blows into bubbles.
Combusting into bubbles.
Yeah, and then the bubbles
Yeah.
pop just to add injury to injury. But one of the
I mean, that is kind of the one thing bubbles reliably do.
burst.
Yes.
Burst is a funny word. I meant to say that earlier, but we brought her up again, I think. I don't know. I tend to just insert whatever I want to say into the conversation. So,
Okay, yeah, next thing is Shrek Super Slam. Did either of you guys ever play that?
no, I think I heard of it, though.
Okay, it's basically Smash Bros. For Shrek characters.
Okay.
I just wanted to shout that out. I never owned it, but we had a family friend that we would visit sometimes, and I played it a lot with them.
Yeah, I had this.
Who was your main?
I had this on DS, and I think I mained Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, it was Puss in Boots, and then I would alternate between him and the Gingerbread Man.
Yeah.
I know I
I would
made
hate
Gingerbread Man for a
Quasimodo.
while. Wait, Quasimodo was in it?
Yeah, they had the Hunchback in it, and I would hate him.
What? This is a DreamWorks property.
Oh, they had a bunch. They had Humpty Dumpty.
Red Riding
the
Hood was in it.
Cyclops.
Oh, so it wasn't Disney's
Captain Hook.
version of Quasimodo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've never seen Quasimodo in these movies, so I don't know what he looks like.
Oh, I like Little Red Riding Hood, too, because you could throw the apples.
Mm-hmm.
She what?
You could throw apples at her. So you get the range.
Yeah, I remember the Gingerbread Man could like spray peppermints from a little candy cane.
They need to remake this.
Yeah, I haven't played it in years.
Yes, they do.
No, what they need to do is they just need to incorporate it into Smash Ultimate. They've got Minecraft Steve in there.
I would
Why
take
not
Puss
throw
in
in
Boots, but
Shrek?
I don't really want to see Shrek.
You know who I think wasn't in it, is the King and Queen. I don't believe they were playable
I don't
Why
think they
would
were
they
either.
be? We didn't
because
see them
everyone
do-
else was. Well, actually, no. Farquaad wasn't. I don't think the Fairy Godmother was either. You have like your
No, they
most
weren't.
OP character not playable.
We didn't even see them jump. You think the people who never swung a fist they put in a fighting game?
Well, they put in Red Riding Hood.
She throws apples though.
Facts.
I think they also put in Pinocchio. He was in it.
They did.
Yeah, but he had like a whole Mission Impossible scene in this, so like that makes sense. Action. But we didn't see any of the other ones. Like what was Fairy Godmother?
Shooting her wand. She has an action scene. She chases Shrek down after the
Well, she like floats.
in the bar.
Yeah, she floats. And it's
they
not
have
even
Tonight on nights when they're chasing the.
we didn't see her really do anything with a wand other than change something into something else, close a door, or try to murder somebody.
Sorry, try to murder somebody is on the list, and you think she's not qualified for a fighting game. I'm not seeing the math here.
It's imaginary math, Evan. Get on the same page.
It's magical math.
Magical math. They also had Smash it like basically the same thing as like a final Smash. Like I think you built up to it, and then I forget what some of the people's things were, but that was like the whole point of the game. Anyway, that was a fun game, as I recall. Probably didn't age great, but oh well. 2 more points. On our original Shrek podcast, somebody left a comment about the wolf, because I believe in that episode I talked about how at the very beginning of this movie, the wolf is in Fiona's castle. And I think I said there's like no motivation for that joke. Somebody corrected me. I'm not gonna... They said that the wolf needs a place to stay after getting kicked out of Shrek's house at the beginning of the first movie. And I stand corrected. I think I mentioned that on some other episode. But I wanted to mention it as well here, since this is the actual movie it's from.
Well, since we're talking about the wolf, I would like to add he was in Super Slam, and I loved the dialogue the Fairy Godmother said when she said the gender-confused wolf. Now we're talking about gender as a construct in 2004. Come on, Shrek 2. So wow, really ahead of its time.
It's ahead of its time.
Some gender confused wolf.
He runs across scorching deserts, blistering winds.
He endured blistering winds and scorching deserts.
Legend tier voice acting. Final point, if we're done with the wolf. Ice Age ripped off Shrek, but then Shrek 2 rips off Ice Age right back for revenge. If you go watch the scene, this is like my murder board conspiracy theory about this.
Year what?
You know, like the big string board thing, the Charlie Day
Oh.
meme, that thing. I don't know. I think a murder board is a term for that. Like the thing the detective uses to track down the murderer. That thing. Anyway, if you go watch the scene in Ice Age where Sid and Manny meet, and then watch the scene from Shrek 1 where Shrek and Donkey meet, they're practically the same scene. And their whole dynamic in that movie is basically the same as Shrek and Donkey. But then, what Ice Age has that Shrek doesn't is a deceptive feline character who starts off opposed to the protagonist, but then defects and becomes an ally, which is exactly what Puss in Boots does.
I don't remember Ice Age 2. Was that... Which one was
No,
Continental?
This is all Ice Age 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Take that, Blue Sky, now that you're owned by Disney.
Are they?
Yes.
Oops.
Which makes it even funnier because Shrek was just shitting on Disney in the beginning, so it's just like, wow, this is full circle.
Yep. Animated diss tracks.
Nope. Nope.
Alright, any last things we want to shout out before going to the boilerplate?
What are we boiling?
I want to shout out Verse Archery. I saw you in Far, Far Away, and I would love to shop there.
Sorry, what was that? Versarchery?
Oh, like Versace?
Yeah, it's their version of Versace, but it's Verse and then Archery.
Oh, I missed that.
Verse Archery.
I know there's a Burger King knockoff, but I can't remember what it says.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
I believe there's also a Starbucks.
Well, they have Friars Fat Boys.
Oh, you know who we didn't shout out? The Giant Gingerbread Man.
Mongo.
He is the homie.
Still drowning in the water.
Indeed.
What are we cooking on the boilerplate, Evan?
We're cooking up a happily ever after potion. Our next episode is going to be Like Mike.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus, I believe, right? That's where it is. Mm-hmm.
Just in time for the playoffs.
Yes. We have our Patreon for $1 a month. We may have a live watch along of Chicken Little on there,
No promises.
where we all last week watched Chicken Little and had commentary running throughout it. I will encourage you to watch that. I think it's safe to say that we should not encourage anyone to go actually watch Chicken Little.
No, you could just throw our commentary on.
Yeah, we watched it so you don't have to.
Please don't watch it.
Yeah, revisit Shrek 2 instead.
Yes, that's a better hour and a half, or less than.
Much, much better. Better soundtrack, better everything.
Same budget.
Somehow same budget. We have merchandise on Zazzle. We have our logo by Kelsey Hendry. I am on Twitter at INTAnalysis18. The show is on Twitter at INTAnalysis18. I am on Twitter at Ev_Wes. And where are both of you at?
Twitter, Jelani T. Kelly. Instagram, Jelani T. Kelly. YouTube, Base Phoenix. Oh, I hadn't done a skit in a minute. Well, that's going to have to hold off. So I got stuff to do these coming weekends.
I am in Far, Far Away.
Perfect.
At Verse Archery.
Perfect.
Shooting bow and arrows. Taking classes. Bettering myself. 2022. Let's better ourselves this year, everybody. Self-care, self-love, far, far away.
If you're already living in far, far away, like Hollywood, aren't you already doing well for yourself?
I'm not in Hollywood. I am in far, far away.
Okay. God,
Yeah.
Place.
forget I asked.
I am at Rodeo Drive.
Rodeo, okay. Can we...
Yeehaw.
Shrek 3 on the way.
No, I don't want to do Shrek 3.
You don't want Merlin?
I do not want
Or
Eric Idle's
Justin
Merlin.
Timberlake. Oh, wait, we didn't mention Justin Timberlake is in this movie, too.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he,
Sir
he,
Justin.
he plays, he's Arthur in the next movie.
He's a scrap of paper.
All right, bye.
Bye.